How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Life Made Easy. And today, guys, I got an awesome video coming at you guys with a full review of the New Mobile X6. This is New Mobile's budget Android device that just came out in early 2020. They were nice enough to send me out a review unit to test out and use for a little bit. So after a bit of use, I'm going to give you my overall impressions of the phone and just give you my overall opinions on it, because I know that's why you're here for it. So without further ado, let's hop into the full review of the New Mobile X6. So I'm just going to start off with emphasizing that this is a $99.99 budget Android phone. So don't get your hopes up for some flagship specifications like Galaxy S20 Ultra specs, like 32 gigabytes of RAM. That's not at this price point. You cannot make a phone with those kinds of specs at this price point. So that's what I want you guys to keep in mind. By the way, all the audio is being recorded on my Fifine microphone, which I just got. I'm going to be using on my podcast at Life Made Easy Podcast. Go check that out and go give it a listen, because I'm hoping and I'm sure most of you will enjoy it, because we talk about a lot of tech related content. So as I said earlier, budget Android device. Don't expect anything too crazy when it comes to specs. Now, I don't like just listing off specs in my review videos, so I'm just going to go through them very briefly. So we have a quad-core processor. That's the A22, they call it on their website. We have 32 gigabytes of onboard storage, so a little low, but it's not crazy low. At $100, I think that's pretty solid for the most part. Like my LG G6 came with 32 gigs of storage, and that was like a couple-year-old flagship phone, so that's fine. We have an 18:9 aspect ratio, and it's a 5.7-inch LCD panel. It's 1440 by 720 in resolution, so you're not going to be getting full HD. It's just going to be standard HD 720p. So sadly, on YouTube, you can't watch that like crispy quad HD video or 1080p video. You're going to have to be stuck with watching 720p content. Now, I will say, when watching YouTube and various videos, the quality is actually pretty solid. The speaker to go along with it is a mono speaker at the bottom, which can be covered very easily, so I was a little disappointed at that. But at this price point, you can't really expect like dual speaker audio. Obviously, that requires more input costs, which means you're gonna have to raise the price of the device, and if they wanted to get it at $100, they were gonna have to make some sacrifices there. So it's rocking Android 9.0 Pie, which is pretty recent for Android. I'm pretty sure my device is still rocking that. So with Pi, you get all the new updated features with Google. You even have gesture support on here, which is awesome. And it's rocking New Mobile skin on top of it. But as you can see here, I don't know how well my camera can pick this up, but it's generally, for the most part, it's stock Android. And that's what I like about that. I try to keep my phones pretty clean, and don't like having a lot going on. Now, one thing I was disappointed was the lack of wallpapers on this phone. It only came with 2 wallpapers. I like to see variety wallpapers on my devices, but can't complain too much there. I'm a big Android guy, so as long as it's running some form of Android, not too skinned, I'm okay with that. I currently rock the S9, which has Samsung's One UI over it, and I'm a big fan of that because they kind of like toned down the TouchWiz skin and made it more close to stock. So just quick size comparison between the two. They are very similar. Obviously, the S9 has a curved like 1440p display, which is much better than the New Mobile one, but this is also only $100, and this one you can get on eBay for like a little under 400 roughly. So yeah, that's basically it for the specs. I mean, it also has micro SD card expansion if you guys are interested in that. It goes up to 128 gigabytes, which is cool. I mean, if you like expanding your memory, you can, but I've never had the need to do that. I never use up that much memory on my phones. So let's move on to another category which I would want to discuss here, which is overall build quality of this device. Now, as I said in my unboxing video, it's mostly plastic. This is a removable back with a removable battery, which in my other video I said, which is an A+. I respect companies that go out and allow you to remove the battery and put a new one in, because if your battery goes bad and corrupted over time, it's nice that you can just go easily replace it. That's a low cost sort of thing. I don't have to pay for someone to install a new one. Saves you money over time, which is awesome. And it's, for the most part, pretty easy to get open. Like, you just dig your fingernail under there and it'll snap off. Pretty easy to put back as well. Just click it. So that's pretty cool. Buttons I found very clicky, very responsive, no mushiness there, which I like. Not a fan of mushy buttons. Also has a headphone jack. I mentioned that in my other video. Having a headphone jack in 2020 is very rare these days, but I respect that they actually put it in. Sadly, we have a micro USB to charge the device. If you guys can just see that. A little disappointed that, but obviously, as I said earlier, you have to cut costs, and USB Type-C is probably a little more expensive, and micro USB is probably really cheap these days to put in their phones. No fast charging here, which is a little disappointing, but as I said before, input costs cost a lot to add these features. They have to make some budget cuts somewhere. That's basically it for the build quality. Not too heavy of a phone. It's not too light of a phone. And it's pretty good weight. I mean, for the most part. It's going to fit in your pocket pretty nicely. No issues there. Talk about screen quality, because I know that's a very important factor to most people. Obviously, it's a 720p panel, but I did think that watching content on here was decent. I mean, let me bring up a video for you guys to just check out. Hopefully I don't get a copyright claim on this. This is a quick example of the speakers.
Und dann sehe ich dieses Flugzeug, Maschinengewehre. Ja, wenn man dieses.
Here we go.
The 100x number, it's not
You can also
really there
pinch it
all
out.
the time, even though it is, I guess, printed there all the time. And the 8K number, I actually recommend against using it. So, despite all this hype, Samsung, I think, is kind of in the same place they left off last year with their camera in third place, and maybe a software update away from.
So obviously you're not going to get that crisp 1440p to watch Marquez's videos, but it does the job. You can watch content on here. I like the big screen. I've always been a fan of big screens on smartphones, so consumption on YouTube is exceptional and acceptable. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about the camera. Now this is very important. The camera, to me, I mean, they advertise it as dual camera, but one of the cameras isn't really a camera. It's kind of like, I forget what they called it. It was just it was another like sensor, optical sensor, which tried to like improve the photo quality. So it's not an actual secondary lens like telephoto or wide angle. It's just another sensor to kind of like improve picture quality. So I mentioned this in my other video. The rear facing camera, I think for the most part is decent. I didn't think it was amazing, but it got the job done, and it has various modes. You guys probably can't see this, but various modes: video mode, mono, which is like black and white and stuff. Has a beauty mode, so Unbox Therapy can talk about that. Bokeh effect, which I was actually surprised to see that in a budget Android device. Night mode, which is cool, and then we also have pro mode to adjust things how you want it. So the rear facing camera I found was pretty good. I tested out the video quality, 1080p video. It was like okay. The optical stim is it doesn't have optical stabilization. It had electronic stabilization, so it was all software based. So that was a little iffy, a little hiccups there. Not too many though. But the real problem for me was the front-facing camera. So this is a 5-megapixel camera, and to me it was lackluster. It didn't do that great of a job. Photos were kind of blown out, and there was a lot of like washiness to it, and wasn't too sharp. So I mean, obviously it's $100 phone. You can't expect like the sharpest front-facing camera. It's 5 megapixels, so it's not going to be that bad, but compared to my S9, it was not even close, and I hope you guys take that into consideration when making this purchasing decision. If you like to take a lot of selfies, would not recommend this phone. Maybe spend a little more and get a better front-facing camera. Let's talk about something that was kind of annoying to me, was the notch right here. And so for me, there should never be a notch if there is a chin on a device. I'm not a fan of notches. Teardrop notch is okay with me. It's not the best. I would rather have the screen just go up to the camera and leave that extra space, because I like a uniform symmetric screen. So I'm not the biggest fan of notches. And the issue with me is there's a big chin at the bottom here, which to me means they could have just shifted the screen down a little and not have to deal with that whole notch thing. I don't know if this was like a thing to just go along with the trend of notches. I don't know, but to me, I'm not a fan of the notch, never have been, and I wish they would have adjusted the screen to maybe get rid of the notch and just have like a uniform top and bottom. I would have thought that would look a little better, kind of like Pixel 3 and 4 sort of thing going on there. Battery life, solid A+, lasted days on me, no issues there. You guys are looking for a good battery, and that goes along with the processor. It's quad core, and it also goes along with the 720p panel, which is not draining as much battery because it's less pixels to power. So that's awesome. So guys, that's going to be my overview of the phone. Obviously, it's budget. I want you to keep that in mind when considering making this purchase. If you're on a budget, $100, say you have $100 and you're looking for a phone, I would recommend this phone. This is a great phone. It brings a lot of value running stock Android. Now at $100, you can also buy other budget Android phones. I know Blue makes them. You can also buy old budget iPhones like the 6S you can get for roughly $100. You gotta weigh your costs and benefits. If you're an Android person, go with this device. It's awesome and it gets the job done. No issues there. The fingerprint sensor works great. Stock Android, camera's decent. Consuming YouTube is decent. New Mobile skin is solid. Everything was pretty snappy for the most part, and I've had no real lag issues. So you gotta weigh your costs and benefits on this one. For me, I'd say yes, go get it if you're an Android user and you want to get an awesome budget Android device. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you guys want to see more awesome content in the future. Go check out the Like Me Easy podcast. Highly recommend it. And I'll put a link down to New Mobile's website and an Amazon page where you guys can go pick this device up. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you guys in the next upcoming video from Like Me Easy. Peace out.